Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Soldier in Me podcast, where the soldier in me brings out the soldier in you. And today we are talking about the mind, because as the man thinketh, so is he. And today we're going to be talking about the power of positive thinking and how to stop overthinking, because we've all been there. If you're listening to this, it's because you either don't think positive all the time and you think the worst in certain situations, or you're an overthinker like me and that gets you into some trouble sometimes. So we're going to talk about how you can stop overthinking and replace overthinking with positive thinking to be a better you. I hope the soldier in me brings out the soldier in you. We'll get into a little recap right after this intro. All right, welcome back, guys. I am Tonia. If you're new here, if you're a new viewer or a new listener, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Soldier in Me podcast. This podcast is a self-help podcast because literally I need some help with myself. And I'm hoping that as I help me, I can help you, because we're in this thing called life together. And what better way to go through life than with others. So this episode is really about the mind, because the Bible tells us that as a man thinketh, so is he. And that is Proverbs 23:7. The King James Version actually reads this: "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee." So it's so important. And God even tells us, that's why I read that scripture to start this episode, that it's really important for us to cultivate our minds, because what you think is truly what you become. So I have some show notes here. So if you're watching on YouTube, this episode and this podcast episode gets really, really deep. So I'm gonna need you guys to sit back, relax, and just walk with me through this. As in this episode, I really want to give you practical life tips and ways that you can stop overthinking and replace your overthinking with positive thinking. So for myself, I am a 100% overthinker, and it gets me in trouble a lot of times, but I've noticed that certain times of the month, if you know what I mean, my overthinking is a lot worse. I'll overthink situations and find everything that I could have potentially did wrong in the situation, overthink that, and feel like I'm just the worst person in the world. Have you ever felt like that? Or am I the only one? I know I cannot be the only one. And I have just been working on trying to stop overthinking and just be the kind person that I know I am and I know that I can be. Because when I'm kind, I don't have to overthink about how I might have made someone else feel. If my intentions were in the right place, that's all that truly matters. So overthinking doesn't just have to be in that sort of situation. I'm just giving you a little recap. Now I need to go more into a recap. Last week was great. I got sick this past weekend. I literally kept throwing up on Father's Day. It was not a good feeling, but Monday I took off work. I rested. I got my hair done. So if you're watching on YouTube, shout out to my girl, because look at my hairstyle. She did this half up, half down hairstyle. We just took my braids out because they were looking a little jagged, and we were just doing something quick for the week. So she did me a little slick up, half down hairstyle, and I really like it. My husband said he likes the braids better, but I don't really care. I mean, the braids were cute. It was different. I will give him that. It was different, but he likes the braids better. The slick up, slick down to me is my favorite, just because I just feel more myself. I'm never really myself when I have cornrows. I don't know what it is about me and cornrows, and like cornrows being pushed straight back. But anyways, it was cute. Nonetheless, I liked it. But besides me getting sick last week, what else happened last week? I had a school visit, went to a STEM camp with some girls, did a little empowerment, helped some girls believe in themselves a little more. They really, I mean, I'm not even capping when I say this. They had the best time. They enjoyed me so much, and just enjoyed the hands-on activities that I had for them. So that was great. So overthinking last week, it was my time of month. So I was just super emotional, and it's just crazy how, like, as women, our hormones can affect how we are emotionally, and I don't like that. I really don't. But the one thing that I can say is being a woman puts us more in tune with our emotions, and we have to learn how to regulate them. And part of our emotions could be overthinking. So what is positive thinking? Positive thinking is the practice of focusing on the good in any given situation, which is so hard to do. It means approaching life's challenges with a constructive and optimistic mindset. Research shows that positive thinking can lead to better stress management, improve your health, and greater overall happiness. And who doesn't want to live a happy and full life? Like, come on. We all want to be happy. We all want to live to our fullest potential and just be great Samaritans, right? Maybe not all of us, but most of us. Benefits of positive thinking: improved mental health. Listen, mental health is everything. We just read the scripture of Proverbs 23:7, where God says, as a man thinketh, so is he. If we want to improve our overall health, it starts in our mind. And positive thinking can improve your mental health by reducing symptoms of depression and anxiety. How many people deal with depression? You don't have to answer, but I know it's a real thing. And if you're listening to this and you've ever just felt this deep emotion of sadness, you're not alone. What about anxiety? Do you have anxiety or worries that just make you feel so captivated sometimes? Like your thoughts almost make you feel stuck? There's more benefits to positive thinking. Positive thinking can also enhance problem-solving skills. It encourages creative solutions and resilience. Who doesn't want to be resilient? Who doesn't want to overcome their trials and their tribulations? Like, come on. Positive thinking also promotes better physical health because it's linked to lower rates of cardiovascular diseases and a longer lifespan. And who doesn't want to live, like I said, a long, fulfilled, happy life? We got to stop overthinking. And resilience is a big one too, because it helps us bounce back from setbacks more effectively. So what is overthinking? Overthinking is the process of dwelling excessively on problems and decisions, often leading to stress and anxiety, the exact opposite. We don't want that. And symptoms of overthinking can be constantly rehashing conversations, second guessing decisions, and imagining worst case scenarios. Guys, I don't always think of the worst case scenario, but when it comes to me possibly being a problem in a situation, or if I'm the person that made a mistake, it might not even be a huge mistake, but when I make mistakes, I overthink them to the T. When I tell you, I will literally sit back on the mistake I make and almost not be able to move forward because my mind continues to think about the mistake I just made. Does that not make sense? And I will have to talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and rehash conversations talking about the same thing. And my husband has to stop me a lot of times, like, Tonia, we talked about this. I'm like, ooh, you're right. I'm just overthinking and I can't get it out my head. So it just keeps coming up and I ruin other people's moods or emotions or how they feel, whether they're happy or whatever. I'm messing up their feelings of happiness because I can't get over the feeling of me either messing up or over a situation just after wanting to talk about it over and over and over. I can't let things go. You know what I'm saying? You got to let things go in life. And I think a lot of overthinking comes to the fact that we can't let things go. So we keep second guessing decisions and then we imagine worst case scenarios. We think about other scenarios, just making them up in our minds and our heads and our thoughts. Like, it's crazy. So common triggers for overthinking, I think, is important to recognize. Number one, perfectionism. I'm not a super perfectionist. I'm not very detailed oriented. I'm more of the person that I'm just gonna get it done and I'm gonna do my best to get it done. I'm not super caught up on it being perfect. I do like things to be done great and I do like things to be done well, but I'm not perfect. Nowhere near that. And I'm not a perfectionist. But perfectionism is the desire to make no mistakes, which, come on now, we're human. You're gonna make mistakes. Another trigger of overthinking is fear of failure, worrying about not succeeding. When you fear failing and you worry about all the possibilities of you not succeeding, like, that's a trigger of overthinking. You start to think about those worst case scenarios like, oh my gosh, like, what if this happens? What if that? What if? No, stop what ifing. Lack of control. Feeling uncertain about the future. When you're uncertain about the future, it's a reflection that you don't have trust in God and you don't have trust in yourself. We can't worry about the future when the future is not in our hands. It's in God's hands and it's gonna happen no matter what. The thing about life is that you're not gonna be able to control anything. You're not gonna be able to control anything. Well, I take that back. You're not gonna be able to control everything. There are some things in your life that you can control. And the one thing that I've learned in life is that control what you can and don't worry about what you can't. Because one of those triggers to overthinking is the lack of control. When you feel like you don't have your hand in a certain situation, you start to overthink about it and all the uncertainties about what could possibly happen. Like, no, we can't do that. Another trigger of overthinking are past experiences. If you relive those past traumas or mistakes that you've made, that is a trigger for you to become an overthinker. And some of those things, unfortunately, we can't fix from what happened in our past, which is really unfortunate. So if you have had some really past trauma, I'm sorry, and I'm praying for you. And what I really want you to do is speak to God and talk to God and ask God to help you overcome whatever it is that's holding you back that may have been caused by a past life trauma. So now we need to talk about strategies to cultivate this positive thinking mindset, okay? Number one, we need cognitive restructuring. That's a big word. We need to identify negative thought patterns and challenge them. So the moment that you start to think negative, and I've been trying to do this more, and I'm going to actually really implement this today, the day that I'm recording this podcast. When I start to think negative, the one thing I need to do is stop myself and say, hold on, why am I thinking this negative thought? Ask yourself that question first. And then we need to reframe those thoughts into positive ones. So let's do an example. I'll never be good at this. 2, okay, I'm learning and improving every single day. I think it's important for us to think about what we're going to say before we say it, because we're so quick to be like, this is not going to happen for me. This is impossible. When we can really say, there are possibilities for this. It doesn't have to be 100% positive and untrue, like, I'm gonna be the best, or, I'm gonna get 100% of my answers right. It doesn't have to be so positive to where like it's not realistic. But you can say, I believe that I can pass. Not, I'm gonna fail because I don't understand this. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like we just have to figure out better ways to reframe our thinking so that our thoughts come out more positively. And it's really important to practice gratitude, because if we can write down what we're grateful for, I think that a lot of times will eliminate us thinking negatively. I literally called up my girlfriend and I started talking about all the ways and all the things that I'm struggling at, just telling her all the stuff that I'm struggling at, which is okay. But I'm also like, Tonia, you don't realize that you're talking about all the things you're struggling at and didn't mention not a single thing that you're doing great at. That's my problem. Is that your problem too? We so often will find ourselves talking about all the negative instead of reframing our mindsets and speaking positively. People will give me compliments all the time, and the first thing I say is, oh my gosh, like, thanks girl, like, but blah, 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 blah. Why am I so negative and can't accept a compliment and just say thank you and move on? Where did we become so twisted mentally in the fact that we can't accept positive affirmations? We can't accept compliments that are positive, because we so often think that once someone says something positive, we have to make them feel better about themselves or make ourselves feel like humble, which is to me not humility. But I have so often thought that to be humble, I had to let people know that I had an insecurity after they gave me a compliment. Does that make any sense? Am I making sense here? I just hope that you guys understand where I'm coming from, because I really have a problem with this and I'm really working on getting this straight. So I'm learning now, when someone gives me a compliment, to say thank you. I don't need to back that up with anything else. I don't need to say, girl, thank you, cause blah, 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 blah. Or thank you, but child, you should look at the back because it's messed up. You know what I'm saying? We always find something negative to say after someone says something positive. And I think that that's just something, as humans, we're flawed, and that has just came our nature. But it's something that we need to work on, recognize, and work on. So I say being grateful and practicing gratitude, talking more about the positives and speaking more on the positives than we do the negatives, will help to restructure our mindsets when it comes to thinking positively. I think we need to visualize and affirm ourselves a lot more, picture ourselves succeeding. Guys, I've been getting PR packages because I've been picturing myself being the content creator that I want to be. I have a PR package literally right next to me. I'm going to show you. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing you guys a PR package. This is one, and it's a box full of snacks, some healthy snacks that I have not tried yet, and I'm going to try them. But I'm just saying that if you can start to formulate your mindset and start to affirm yourself and say, okay, I can do this. and start picturing yourself doing it, I guarantee you that's where this whole notion of delusional thinking has come from, being delulu. And I honestly kind of like it, because when you start thinking delusionally, you trick yourself into thinking positively. And maybe that's where we all need to start. Maybe we all need to be a little delulu, because if we start being delusional, like I'm a content creator, and really showing up and being a content creator, you will become the content creator that you once pictured in your mind to be. It's just that simple. Michelle Obama even said, you have to practice every single day to be who you want to become. You need to show up every single day and act like you're already that person, because eventually acting, as a man thinketh, so is he. You start to think it, you start to do it, you start to become it. Like that is literally the steps. Step 1, 2, and 3. Think it, do it, become it. That simple. Surrounding yourself with positivity is another one. Guys, we have got to limit our spaces. We have to limit them spots in our life for them negative people. We need to start exiting those negative people out of our life, because we need to think positively. We have got to start thinking better about ourselves, about others, and about our situations. And the best way to do that is who you surround yourself with. Surround yourself with positive people, people that are happy, joyful, that exude gratefulness. Those are the people that you need to surround yourself, especially if you are more of a negative thinker. It might be best to surround yourself with positive people, but that will only help you recognize how much negativity you once were releasing, because you start getting around positive people and you're like, man, I must be real negative because their positivity icks me. Does that, like, it might even ick you to start off, but I think it's so important for us to surround ourselves with people for who we want to become too, because that good is going to weigh off and it's going to spill out onto you. If they start cutting you off, that means you a problem and you need to work on yourself, okay? All right. So engage with uplifting content too. You know, maybe surrounding yourself with positive people isn't like as easy for you. You can read books that help you formulate your mind, your thoughts, listen to podcasts like this one so that we can help each other. And you can also just surround yourself with people and like content that inspires you. Are you watching content that makes you feel empowered or inspired, more grateful? That will help you to formulate and restructure your mind to be more positive. So now we need to talk about techniques to stop overthinking. Mindfulness and meditation is important. We got to pray, guys. We have got to pray. I feel like once we get, and I'm so bad at this, at least right now in the season I'm in, I feel like I'm so busy to where I'm not praying as much as I would like. And I really want to get back into that. So you're listening to this podcast. Next week on the podcast, I hope to have a testimony about how I have been praying every single day. I want to get in my word. I want to spend time with God, because I can be busy, but if I died, like nothing that I was working on or being busy doing really will matter. It's not even going to matter. So I really want to get into my prayer era. Everything's an era for me. I love it. I love it here. Everything's an era. Whoever came up with that, I love it, because I want to get into my Christian and spirituality era. Like I want to be better overall. I want to be the best person as much as possible. It's important for us to pray, because I do think that when we pray, God checks us. He checks our thoughts. He checks our mindfulness and our thinking. We also need to focus on just breathing sometimes, slowing down a little bit before we're so quick to criticize ourselves. Take a deep breath and think about, what you did do right before you criticize yourself. Now, there are some things that we need to look deep down and say, okay, recognize areas that we need to fix or work on, but you're not all bad. You're not all bad, I promise you. There's some good inside of you. We need to also set limits for decision making to stop overthinking, because listen, if it takes you 20 minutes to figure out which fast food place you want to go to, that's a problem. If you're hungry, make a decision on what you want to eat. And I'm talking to myself about this one, because I overthink so much, like, do I want this? Do I want this? And then next thing you know, my whole lunch break is over. We cannot be overthinking. We need to set a timer for how long we need to make a decision, make that decision and commit to it. Okay. And that's why I have said over and over and over that to be successful, you have to leave little space between thought and action, because that middle between the thought and action is overthinking and getting nothing done. Nothing. You will get nothing done if you stop in between your thought and your action and you overthink. We cannot do that in life, guys. We are on our Zoom all 2024 and really the rest of our life. As long as we are on this earth, we are on our Zoom. Action-oriented approaches. We need to focus on actionable steps rather than hypothetical outcomes. Focus on actionable steps. Don't think about all of the things that could possibly work, that might happen. You need steps to take, because to get to the top, there's a staircase, there's a ladder, and you can't just jump. You can't just jump, because you're not going to get to the top by jumping. You have to set some actionable steps for you to reach your goal. Like if you're a content creator like me, you need to start making content. You need to start getting better at making content. You need to start editing good quality content and purposeful content, something that inspires people, motivates people, tells a message, makes someone laugh. Those are the actionable steps that you need to take. Break those tasks into smaller ones and manageable parts to avoid feeling overwhelmed. You don't need to start on staircase 1 and try to hop to staircase 15, because honey, hopping is not gonna work. That's a big hop. You need to take a step. So in order to take a step, take those big goals, turn them into actions, and start breaking down those actions into small tasks, small daily tasks that you can do that won't overwhelm you and that you can be consistent in. Like working out. I can't work out, guys. I can't work out 7 days a week. I can't work out 5 days a week. If I work out 3 days a week, I have made progress, because that is just how busy my life is. If I set a goal for myself to be fit, and I had to work out 7 days a week, I'm not reaching that goal. But if I set a goal for myself to be fit or at a certain level, certain weight, whatever, and I work out and I set myself 3 days out the week to work out and I meal prep, those are 2 actionable steps that I can take consistently that I know won't overwhelm me. Now you need to redirect your thoughts. Engage in activities that shift your focus, like exercising or hobbies. When I exercise, I feel more focused when it comes to me doing my homework. If I can go work out or take a walk and then I start my homework, I feel more focused. I feel like my mindset just gets in alignment. I don't know what it is. So maybe you need to find what that is for you. Maybe it's drawing before you start to do a very difficult task. Maybe it's making sure that you eat a meal before you start doing a difficult task. So that way your thoughts and your mind is focused before you start whatever task that you're about to begin. And that will limit the overthinking too. Sweat it out. Sweat them thoughts out, run it out, okay? Come back, sit down, and get to work. And then you need to write down. When you're organized and when you write things down, you won't have to overthink as much. I have a calendar. It is called my Top 3 Notebook. This is by Erin on Demand. She's one of my content creators that I follow and support heavily because she's just so inspiring. She's so uplifting. So my Top 3 Notebook helps me make life simple. I write everything down, or at least I try to. Everything is a strong word. I write most things down, and it helps me stay on track of work stuff, work task, life task, homework, school visits, appointments, whatever. Because if I don't, guys, I'm all over the place and I'll start to overthink. I won't even be able to sleep because I think I'm going to miss a speaking engagement that I might have planned. And that's happened. I have literally missed a speaking engagement. A lady sent me an email and thought I died. She was like, "Are you okay? Because you missed the panel." I said, "Huh?" Didn't write it down. So I literally held that over my head for so long because I'm like, I'm such a horrible person. These people probably think that I just didn't think their event was important or special enough. And I just decided not to show up. And that was not the case. I literally was not organized and I just missed it. It just goes to show you that I make mistakes, not just in my friendships or relationships, but professionally. And that was a pretty big one for me. And I felt really bad about it. And I even apologized, but I haven't heard back. So it was just one of those things where I just had to let go. And I'm only sharing this to let you know that if you're organized, you won't make super bad mistakes like that. Like not showing up to an event, a panel that I had to host. That's crazy. So anyways, write things down. Be better than me and write things down. because that will help you create to-do lists and start prioritizing your tasks and getting them done. And you won't overthink them as much because you know you just have work to do. No, you're not thinking about what do I need to start with first, overthinking. You're actually gonna get to the nitty gritty and get things done because you know what order they need to be done in. All right, that is it. Main takeaways is to challenge your negative thoughts with positive ones, practice gratitude, speak more about what you're grateful for than what is not going right in your life. Surround yourself with positivity, whether that's through books, podcasts, or other people. And to stop overthinking, pray, give it to God, release control, and let God have control over your life. Set time limits for decision making. Don't give yourself all day to make this big decision. Pray about it, make this decision, and be confident in the choice that you make. You also want to make sure that you engage in activities that shift your focus, like exercise or specific hobby. So that way, when you start a difficult task, you can get it done. And write down things. Don't be like me. Be better. Seriously, be better than me. Write down your task and create a to-do list so that you can manage those tasks and reduce any mind clutter. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I hope that you begin to think positive and speak positive things over yourself, over your family, over your friends, over your life. Because God wants you to know He's got everything else that's negative in your life under control, okay? Life will not be perfect, but if we focus on the imperfections of life, it will always feel like life is just lifing. And life doesn't always have to be lifing. If we focus on the positive things, you'll start to see the beauties of life, even with the flaws, in the midst of the flaws. And I hope the soldier in me brings out the soldier in you. Thank you so much for listening to episode 7. I'll see you guys next week in the Soldier in Me podcast. Have a blessed day. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Tonia Michele, and I'll see you next week in the Soldier in Me podcast. Love you guys. Bye.